Leonie Dawson refuses to be categorized. The podcast. Hi, my loves. Today I am going to be sharing with you how we booked out my calendar with podcast interviews. So, you might remember a little while ago I told you about how we ended up halving our time spent on emails as part of our mysteriously named Project 10%. If you didn't see that, you can go to leoniedawson.com/project emails, or one word, and you can find out all about that. So, what's Project 10%, you might be asking? Well, it's where we work on different areas of our business and improve them by 10% or more. So for our second Project 10%, we decided to improve and automate our interviews and podcast process. So the plan was to automate the screening and booking procedures, tune up our pitching process, and have a minimum of 20 interviews booked in by the end of the month. So we're going to document what we did as we did it, just to give you some ideas on how to do the same. So first and foremost, the thing that we did was realize that we didn't really know much about getting booked on podcasts. We've always kind of done it haphazardly, so we wanted to have a bit more of an idea and see if there were smarter ways that we could do things. So we did some training to tune up our pitching procedure. My assistant ended up taking Jacqueline Malone's plug and play pitch system. Sweet Jesus, that is a tongue twister. And it was a training, and we got some super helpful tips and ideas from that, including a number of pitching templates, which came in really handy. If you want the link for that, just come on over to leoniedawson.com/project interviews, and you can find the link to all that. And you'll also see Zita's super cute bullet journaling where she took notes on it, which is awesome. So the pitching templates were really useful because we were going to end up being able to personalize not only to me and my brand, but also to whoever we were pitching to as well. And the other huge takeaway from the training was that we actually had to pitch topic ideas. So for every podcast I pitched, I came up with 3 topic ideas that were really relevant to the podcast being pitched to. And these topics varied from money, business, life, creativity, neurodiversity, gender, and more. So including topic ideas in your pitch really helps you understand the podcaster's audience and what you can offer them. Now, secondly, before we even began to pitch podcasts, we wanted to make sure that we streamlined and automated the interview screening and booking process. We knew straight away that we wanted to make it as easy, quick, and painless as possible for us and our potential interviewers, because we've done this before, just manually booking people in, and the back and forth of emails and having to send out reminders ourselves instead of automating it just took up so much fucking time. And I'd rather use that time for other projects, or just like reading a book, or I don't know, having sex or something. Anyway, so save yourself some good quality sex time and just streamline and automate your booking system. So we ended up setting up a Calendly account. It was perfect for us because we could also set up the screening questions in there before people can confirm their bookings. So here's a sneak peek of our screening questions. Some of them are practical and some of them are more philosophical. So see if you can tell the difference. We ask for people's name, email. Do you engage in anti-racist practices, avoid and call out when possible cultural appropriation and misogyny, and support science, i.e. you are not an anti-vaxxer or a believer of QAnon, and you support the LGBTQIA plus communities and BIPOC communities. Fascinatingly, we have had somebody say no to this, and they didn't get an interview with me. They said, and I quote, that they don't believe in being political. And I gave them some long and loving feedback that as a person who had a platform, it was important to have ethics and values and take a stand for things that are very, very important to our society. This person never wrote me back. Spoiler alert, it was a straight white guy. Anyway, so just not the right fit whatsoever. Okay, other things. What's the name of your podcast or show? Please provide links to your podcast, website, social media, etc., so we can have a look. What's your expected audience number? What number of podcast downloads or number of unique views have you had? What topics would you like to discuss? Please provide the Zoom link. By scheduling that into these questions, it means that we don't have to chase it later, which is hugely helpful. And we also include in there that people have to tick off that it says, you understand that if you do not show up to your interview without courtesy emailing our email address first, at least 24 hours in advance, you're not going to be able to book in any further interviews. And all of those questions are required. It means that people couldn't confirm the interview booking unless they'd answer all the questions. And then when we check the answers to make sure they fit in with our values as a company. Two things I want to cover here. I'm just not interested in being interviewed by racists or people who spread misinformation that harms lives. It's just not the right fit for me, and it's not the right fit for them, and I'm going to piss them off and they're going to piss me off, and I don't have time for that. And I also kind of feel like they do need to have a repercussion for their behaviour because it is really dangerous. That's my personal opinion, and I'm claiming it. Secondly, the reason I say is, if you don't show up or tell us 24 hours in advance that you need to reschedule. The reason we do that is because last year when I did a big round and booked a lot of people in, I had a lot of people just not show up, even though they'd pitched, and they, even though we'd sent reminder emails, even though we'd chased them, all these kinds of things. So, and then they would get upset when they're like, oh, I just missed it, sorry, can we reschedule? And we'd be like, no, you've actually already wasted my time. So the answer is no. So we're just setting that boundary very firmly up front. And so far, nobody is missing their calls now that boundary is in place, which is great. So we save so much time doing it this way. The screening questions are asked before booking, so we know we didn't have to manually email everyone. Calendly is connected to my Google Calendar, so as soon as someone books in, it automatically adds it in. You've got the option to make the booking link private or public. Ours is private, so we can only send it to people that we already have an inkling would be a good fit without having to screen too much. I have complete control over my calendar availability. It helps avoid double booking too many interviews, and I can also like wipe out weeks where I've it's school holidays or I just want to be with my kids or whatever. People having to provide the Zoom link means that we don't have to chase them up for links the day before or the morning of the interview, because we had to do that quite a bit before. And we love that Calendly sends out automated reminders 24 hours and 1 hour earlier as well. So I think that really helped with stopping people from forgetting their time. So I could sing to the stars all night about how awesome it's been to have Calendly. So if you head on over to my website, there's a link to Calendly there where you can grab yourself a 14-day free trial as well if you want to try it out. So the third part was to pitch to podcasts who didn't know me. So we did a sweep to look for podcasts who might be a good fit, and I found them by looking up Apple Podcasts, top podcasts in certain categories, researching what podcasts that other teachers in my niche have been on, Googling topic plus podcast. We also kept a really comprehensive spreadsheet of who we've pitched to on what date and what their answer was. And we also use my podcast directory as a way to keep track of people who've interviewed me before. You can check out the podcast directory at leoniedawson.com/podcasts as well. That's podcasts with an S. If you just go to leoniedawson.com/podcast, it's this podcast. Number 4, then we looked at finding podcasts in my own community. In the past, I've just emailed my mailing list asking people to reply if they want to email me. And while this always gets an amazing response, it does cause my assistant a significant amount of work. So given that we just streamlined the inbox and halved our email time, I really did not want to fancy creating another massive avalanche of emails for her. So to avoid the inbox deluge, my assistant Zita had the idea of asking people instead to post their podcasts in my Kajabi student forum that I use for all of my course students. If you have bought any of my courses, if you log onto the Kajabi site, you'll be able to find the student forum in there. Anyway, this was a fabulous way of doing it because I'd been wanting to find more podcasts to listen to. So we made the post and suddenly we had a directory of podcasts that were done by my students. So for me, it was a treasure trove of new content to consume because I love podcasts. And for Zita, it was a list of potential podcasts to pitch to. So 2 birds, 1 I don't know. I don't want to say stone cage. No, what's something that's good for birds? Birdseed. 2 birds, 1 handful of birdseed. Yay! Much success. Anyway, my assistant began the task of she went through, she created a list of all the podcasts that might be a good fit. Then I went through the list and I approved each podcast. Pictures were written and we emailed them off as well. We also emailed separate pictures to our top affiliates, inviting them to interview me. And this was super successful. People get to promote their affiliate links while they interview me, so they get money for it as well. Total win-win, and it was awesome just to connect with them as well. I'm so grateful that they share about my work, and it's awesome being kind of business partners with them, really. And by the way, if you haven't signed up to be an affiliate, please do. leoniedawson.com/affiliate. It's completely free. Anytime anyone signs up through you to get my programs, you get 50% of the course fee. I love sharing the abundance along, and even if you just tell a mate about it and she signs up, 50% back. Yay! Live the dream! So in terms of our results, we got 21 interviews fully booked and confirmed in the space of a month, and that was between now and the end of the year. We definitely could have booked more, but I ended up capping it at 2 interviews a week and none over the school holidays, because it's really important that I don't burn myself out, and I want to, make sure I really spend precious time with my family. So at the end of the project, whether it's successful or not, it's been successful all the time anyway. We've had a 2 out of 2 success rate. We ask ourselves the following questions of that project 10%. So we asked, what 3 things made the most significant difference? And we felt like taking some training to work out how to pitch well was awesome. Being smarter and more intentional about who we pitch to, and automating using a Calendly booking link with extensive screening questions was also super useful. What lessons did we learn? So even with all the automated process in place, creating the pitch document templates and a list of podcasts to pitch to, pitching still takes a really large chunk of time. So we just have to recognize that and factor it in. Providing topic ideas in the format of kind of like blog post headings, that really gets people excited. And it's super useful for me and my assistant to do a training of some kind anytime we feel unsure about how to complete a task. It really helps with confidence levels and makes us feel just like that much more capable. Plus, education's so fucking important, right? And cold pitching to podcasts who aren't within my circle, it definitely has a much lower response rate, as does pitching bigger podcasts. And it's still useful to do it, of course, but just factoring that into how many we need to pitch to. So we asked ourselves, what could we continue doing to see improvements in this area? The podcast pitch course that we did recommended following up no sooner than 10 days after sending the pitch. So we made a weekly reminder in our project management system, Asana, to follow up on pitches that weren't responded to. We also have a document where I've saved who's been pitched to, so we have that directory. We might also consider creating a booking page on the website for ongoing podcast interview requests. And it might be useful for me to ask interviewers if they could recommend me to any of their podcaster friends as well, if I could be fucked. Now, in terms of the end results of the experiment, the podcast pitch document template definitely helped reduce any nerves about reaching out to people, but also saved time writing up those pitches as well. We easily booked 20 interviews. Affiliates and customers were incredibly responsive. Having the Calendly booking link and the questions saved so much time and energy. And we can really just say, Project 10%, the podcast interviews, really is a success. So exciting. And here's the thing, I want you to know, business really is just a massive experiment, trying new things and seeing what works. And I'm thrilled that I get to do this and then share the results with you. And if you head on over to leoniedawson.com/podcast interviews, right at the bottom, you'll be able to find a link. If you'd like to book me for an interview, there's the link to apply there, as long as you didn't vote for Trump, of course. No, I'm fucking serious. Okay, I love you. I hope this was useful. I am sending you so much love and so much enthusiasm and excitement, and start pitching, start getting your beautiful voice out there and exposing yourself to new audiences. It's so well worth it. Bye!